You embarrassed this family. That was my mother's text message. Not congratulations. Not an apology for missing my wedding. Just 5 words that told me everything I needed to know about where I stood. I was 28 years old, still in my wedding dress, mascara running down my cheeks, reading those words on my phone while my new husband held me in a hotel room that should have been filled with joy. 3 hours earlier, I'd married the love of my life in front of 11 people. 11. My parents were in Maui at my sister's baby shower. They'd known about my wedding date for 8 months. They booked their flights to Hawaii anyway. When I called to remind them, my mother said, "Vanessa's shower is a family event, Stephanie. Your little ceremony can wait." It couldn't wait. I got married anyway. And a week later, an invoice arrived in my mailbox. $4,500 for family embarrassment. I stared at it for 10 minutes. Then I sat down at my kitchen table and typed up my own invoice. $78,000. Therapy bills from childhood. Estimated. I mailed it the next morning. They never responded. That was 4 years ago. Let me tell you what happened before and what happened after. My wedding wasn't the first thing they forgot. It was just the last. I grew up in a 3-bedroom house in suburban Minnesota, where everything revolved around my sister Vanessa. She was 3 years older, blonde where I was brunette, outgoing where I was quiet, and somehow, inexplicably, the center of my parents' universe from the moment I could form memories. I don't remember a time when I wasn't compared to her and found lacking. When Vanessa made varsity cheerleading at 14, my parents threw a party. 30 people in our backyard, a cake shaped like a megaphone, my father giving a toast about how proud they were. When I made the honor roll that same year, my mother said, "That's nice, honey. Can you help me set up for Vanessa's party?" I was 11. I spent the afternoon filling coolers with ice while my sister posed for photos. When Vanessa got accepted to the University of Minnesota, my parents bought her a car. A used Honda, but still, a car. When I got accepted to the same university 3 years later with a higher GPA and a partial scholarship, my father said, "Well, you'll have to figure out transportation. We already gave Vanessa the car and we can't afford another one." I took the bus for 4 years, 45 minutes each way, rain or snow, while Vanessa drove past me sometimes on campus without stopping. The summer I turned 16, I asked if I could have a birthday party. Nothing big. Just a few friends. Maybe pizza and a movie at home. My mother looked at her calendar and frowned. "That weekend is Vanessa's sorority formal. We need to help her prepare." My birthday was on a Tuesday. The formal was on Saturday. But somehow, my entire birthday week got absorbed into Vanessa's event. I spent my 16th birthday helping my sister pick out earrings at the mall. She didn't even say happy birthday until my father reminded her at dinner. "Oh, right," she said, barely looking up from her phone. "Happy birthday, Steph." There's a photo from that dinner. My parents are on either side of Vanessa, who's holding up her formal dress. I'm at the edge of the frame, half cut off, holding a cupcake with a single candle. No one is looking at me. That photo used to make me cry. Now it just makes me understand. I started therapy when I was 19. Dr. Martinez, a patient woman with kind eyes who let me talk for 6 months before she said the words that changed everything. "Stephanie, you're not crazy. Your family has a dynamic where your needs are systematically deprioritized. This is a pattern, not isolated incidents." Hearing someone name it out loud was like stepping into sunlight after years in a basement. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't being dramatic. I was being erased, slowly and consistently, and I'd been taught to accept it as normal. Therapy cost $150 per session, twice a week. Insurance covered some of it, but not all. By the time I finished my undergraduate degree, I'd spent nearly $12,000 trying to understand why my own family made me feel invisible. By the time I got engaged, that number had more than doubled. Every session peeling back another layer of understanding. Every breakthrough costing money I earned at part-time jobs while my sister's tuition was paid in full by our parents. I met Daniel during my junior year of college. He was getting his master's in environmental science, serious and thoughtful. The kind of person who remembered small details about conversations weeks later. Our first date was coffee that turned into lunch, that turned into walking around a lake until sunset, because neither of us wanted it to end. 3 months in, he came home with me for Thanksgiving. My mother spent the entire dinner talking to Vanessa about her new boyfriend. My father asked Daniel exactly 2 questions: what he did and where he was from. Then they turned back to Vanessa's stories about her semester abroad in Barcelona. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. In the car afterward, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Is it always like that?" I didn't know how to answer. It had always been like that. I didn't know anything different. Daniel proposed when I was 27, on the anniversary of our first date, in the same spot by the lake where we'd walked until sunset 6 years earlier. He'd arranged for a photographer to hide in the trees. In the photos, I'm crying and laughing at the same time, my hands covering my mouth, looking at him like he's the only person in the world. Because in that moment, he was. He was the first person who'd ever made me feel like I came first. We set the date for October 15th, a Saturday. Perfect fall weather in Minnesota, leaves changing, not too cold. We booked a small venue, a restored barn outside the city, capacity for 80 people. We sent save the dates in January, 8 months in advance. Everyone got one, including my parents, including Vanessa. The responses trickled in. Daniel's family was coming, all of them. His parents, his brother, 2 aunts, an uncle, 4 cousins. My side was quieter. My grandmother was too frail to travel. My uncle was working overseas. But my parents confirmed they'd be there. My father even called. A rare occurrence. Looking forward to it, sweetheart. October 15th. We've got it on the calendar. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Have you ever wanted so badly for something to be true that you ignored every sign it wasn't? That was me for the next 6 months. In April, Vanessa announced she was pregnant. Not to me directly, of course. My mother called, breathless with excitement, talking so fast I could barely understand her. A baby! Our first grandchild. Vanessa is due in December, isn't that wonderful? I congratulated her and asked to talk to Vanessa. My mother paused. Oh, she's resting. I'll have her call you. Vanessa never called. I found out the gender from a Facebook post. In June, my mother mentioned they were thinking about throwing Vanessa a baby shower. Something special. She deserves it after everything she's been through. Everything she'd been through was a planned pregnancy with her stable boyfriend in their nice apartment, paid for by the trust fund my grandparents had set up for her. But I didn't say that. I just said, "That sounds nice, Mom." In August, my mother called again. Her voice was strange, careful. So we've been looking at dates for Vanessa's shower, and the only weekend that works for everyone is October 14th through 16th. I felt my stomach drop. Mom, my wedding is October 15th. Silence. Then, I know, honey, but Vanessa's friends can only make that weekend. And we found this beautiful venue in Maui. Wouldn't it be easier if you just moved your wedding? I couldn't speak for a moment. When I did, my voice didn't sound like mine. I've had the date set for 8 months. The venue is booked. The caterer is confirmed. We've sent invitations. I'm sure you can figure something out. Venues have cancellation policies. Vanessa's shower is a family event, Stephanie. Your little ceremony can wait. Little ceremony. The words landed like a slap. My wedding cannot wait, I said slowly. I'm getting married on October 15th. You can come or not. But I'm not changing my date for a baby shower. My mother sighed, the sound of a parent dealing with a difficult child. You're being very selfish about this. Vanessa's pregnant. This is a special time for her. I'd think you'd want to support your sister. I'd think my parents would want to be at my wedding. Another sigh. We'll talk about this later. She hung up. I sat on my couch for an hour, staring at the wall. Daniel found me there when he came home from work. I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took both my hands and looked me in the eyes. We're getting married on October 15th, he said. Whether they're there or not, you deserve a wedding that's about you, not about accommodating people who never accommodate you. I started crying, not because I was sad, because I was 30 years old and that was the first time anyone in my family had ever put me first. And Daniel wasn't even my family yet, but he was about to be. September came. No word from my parents about flights to Minnesota. I texted my mother asking if they'd booked their travel. She didn't respond for 3 days. When she did, it was a single line. Still figuring out logistics. A week later, my cousin Lisa called. Lisa was my mother's sister's daughter, 2 years older than me, the only family member who'd ever seemed to notice I existed. We'd been close as kids, drifted during college, reconnected when she moved to Chicago. I just got off the phone with your mom, Lisa said. Her voice was tight. She asked if I could go to Maui for Vanessa's shower. My heart started pounding. What did you tell her? I told her I was going to your wedding because that's what I RSVP'd for 6 months ago. She said she was disappointed in my priorities. Lisa paused. Steph, she's really going, isn't she? She's actually skipping your wedding for a baby shower. I couldn't answer. The confirmation, hearing it from someone outside the immediate situation, made it real in a way I'd been avoiding. My mother had chosen. My father had chosen. They were going to Hawaii. I'll be there, Lisa said. I'm flying in the night before. I'll help you get ready. Whatever you need. I cried for the second time that month. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is what family is supposed to do. Your parents are the ones who forgot. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called my father directly. I needed to hear it from him. Needed to give him one last chance to choose me. Hey, Steph, what's up? Dad, I need to know. Are you and Mom coming to my wedding? A long pause. I heard rustling, could picture him shifting uncomfortably. Look, honey, your mother and I talked about it. The thing is, we already bought the tickets to Maui and they're non-refundable, and Vanessa really needs us there for support. Vanessa is having a party, I said. I'm getting married. I know, but, Dad, this is my wedding, your daughter's wedding, the only one I'm ever going to have. He sighed, that same sigh my mother had used, the sigh of someone who'd already made their decision and wished I'd stop making it uncomfortable. You'll have photos. We'll celebrate with you when we get back. It's not like we're missing something that can't be replicated. Something in me broke, quietly, cleanly, like a bone that had been fractured for years finally giving way. Okay, Dad. Have a good trip. I hung up before he could respond. Then I sat in my car in the parking lot of my office and cried until I had nothing left. Not for the wedding. For the 28 years of hoping that one day, somehow, I'd matter to them. For the little girl who spent her 16th birthday helping her sister pick out earrings. For every time I'd believed things would be different and watched them be exactly the same. That night, I told Daniel everything. The conversation, the finality of it, The realization that I'd been waiting my whole life for parents who would never show up. He held me and let me grieve. Then he said, 11 people have RSVP'd yes. 11 people who chose to be there. Let's make this the best wedding 11 people have ever been to. I laughed through my tears. 11 people. His parents, his brother, his aunt and uncle, 3 of his cousins, Lisa, my 2 closest friends from college, Maya and Jennifer, and us. That was our guest list. That was everyone who thought my wedding mattered. So we made it matter. October 15th was perfect. Clear sky, leaves blazing orange and gold, the kind of Minnesota fall day that feels like the world is showing off. The barn venue had been decorated with wildflowers and candles. 11 chairs arranged in a semicircle around the spot where we'd exchange vows. 11 place settings at the reception table, which was really just one long farm table draped in white linen. A 3-tier cake that was comically oversized for our group, ordered before the guest list shrank to nothing. Lisa helped me get ready. My dress was simple, ivory, floor length, the kind of dress I'd have chosen regardless of the size of the wedding. She did my hair, long and loose with small braids woven through. She handed me tissues when I needed them and told me I was beautiful and never once mentioned my parents. At 4 p.m., I walked down the aisle. There was no aisle, really, just a path between those 11 chairs. But I walked it like it was the length of a cathedral, because it was my wedding, and nothing could take that from me. Daniel was crying before I reached him. His mother was crying. Lisa was crying. Maya and Jennifer were holding hands and crying. 11 people, and every single one of them was completely present. No phones out, no distracted glances, no one wishing they were somewhere else. Just absolute attention and absolute love. We wrote our own vows. Daniel promised to always make me feel seen. I promised to always choose him the way he'd always chosen me. The officiant pronounced us married at 4:47 p.m. We kissed while 11 people cheered. It was the loudest, smallest celebration I could imagine. Dinner was intimate and chaotic and wonderful. The caterer had prepared for 80. We took home enough food to eat for a week. Daniel's dad made a toast about finding the right person and knowing instantly that they're worth everything. His mom told embarrassing stories about Daniel as a kid. Lisa told the story of how we used to hide under the porch at family gatherings, eating stolen cookies and complaining about the adults. By 8 p.m., I'd almost forgotten that my parents weren't there. Almost. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "You embarrassed this family." I stared at the screen. Daniel saw my face change and asked what was wrong. I showed him. He read it, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw real anger cross his features. "Don't respond," he said. "Not tonight. Tonight is about us." I put my phone away. We danced our first dance to a song we'd chosen together, in a room with 11 people who loved us, and I tried to let that be enough. But at midnight, alone in our hotel room, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those 5 words. You embarrassed this family. I hadn't gone to Hawaii. I hadn't interrupted Vanessa's shower. I'd simply gotten married on the date I'd set 8 months earlier. And that was embarrassing. My existence, my milestones, my choices were embarrassing to them. I cried in the bathroom so I wouldn't wake Daniel, but he heard anyway, and he held me until I fell asleep. That's when I knew I'd married the right person. Not because he fixed anything, because he was there for the unfixable parts. A week later, the invoice arrived. A physical envelope, hand-addressed in my father's handwriting. Inside was a typed document on formal paper. Invoice for family embarrassment, $4,500. There was an itemized list. Missing shower, $2,000. Emotional distress to mother, $1,500. Damage to family reputation, $1,000. I sat at my kitchen table reading it over and over. Part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity. Part of me wanted to cry at the cruelty. Part of me, the part that had spent 18 years learning to accept their treatment, wanted to apologize and make it right. Then I remembered Dr. Martinez. I remembered every session where we'd unpacked another memory of being invisible. I remembered the $150 per hour it cost to learn that I deserved better. And I realized I had my own invoice to send. I typed it up that afternoon. Clean, professional, matching their format. Invoice for childhood therapy, $78,000 estimated. I itemized it too. Sessions to process emotional neglect, $45,000. Sessions to address systematic favoritism, $20,000. Sessions to rebuild self-worth after years of invisibility, $13,000. I added a note at the bottom. Payment not expected. Understanding would be appreciated. Silence will be noted. I mailed it the next morning. They never responded. No call, no text, no email, no attempt to explain or apologize or even argue. Just silence. The silence I'd known my entire life, the silence that followed every time I tried to matter to them. But this time, the silence felt different. It felt like an ending rather than a rejection. Vanessa reached out once, about 3 months later. A text message. Mom showed me the invoice you sent. That was really messed up. I typed and deleted several responses before settling on. Was the shower in Maui nice? She didn't respond. I didn't expect her to. That was 4 years ago. Here's what I've learned since then. You cannot make someone see you if they've decided you're invisible. You cannot earn love from people who've decided not to give it. All you can do is stop performing for an audience that was never watching. Stop waiting in the wings for a spotlight that was never meant for you. My wedding had 11 guests. I keep the guest list framed in our hallway. Not the guest list we sent out. 80 names, family and friends and colleagues. The real guest list. The 11 names of people who showed up. Daniel's parents, Robert and Margaret, his brother Andrew, his Aunt Carol and Uncle James, his cousins Sarah, Brendan and little Emily, my cousin Lisa, my friends Maya and Jennifer. These are the only names that matter now. These are the only names that mattered then. 4 years later, those 11 people are still in my life. Every single one. Lisa and I talk every week. Maya was in the delivery room when I had my daughter last year. Daniel's mother babysits every Thursday so we can have date nights. The 11 people who came to my wedding became the foundation of the family I actually have. Not the family I was born into. The family I built. There's a photo from that day hanging in our living room. The 11 of us, standing in front of the barn, leaves falling around us. Everyone mid-laugh at something someone had just said. I don't remember what was funny. I just remember feeling, for the first time in my life, like I was exactly where I belonged. Like the people around me wanted to be there. Like I wasn't an afterthought or an inconvenience or an embarrassment. I was just Stephanie, getting married, surrounded by people who loved me. The smallest wedding became the biggest lesson. My parents sent a letter about a year after the wedding. Physical letter. Their return address in the corner. I recognized my mother's handwriting. I held it for a long time, feeling the weight of whatever was inside. An apology? An explanation? Another invoice? I thought about opening it. Thought about finally getting some acknowledgement of what they'd done. Then I thought about all the times I'd waited for them to show up. All the times I'd hoped this would be different. All the times I'd opened myself up to disappointment because I couldn't stop believing they might change. I put the letter in a drawer. It's still there. Unopened. Maybe someday I'll read it. Maybe I won't. The point is, I no longer need to know what it says. Their words, whatever they are, don't have power over me anymore. I spent 28 years waiting for them to choose me. They never did. So I stopped waiting. Do I wonder what's in the letter? Sometimes. Late at night, usually. In the quiet moments between waking and sleeping. But then I look at the photo on my wall, the 11 people who showed up, and I remember that I already have everything I need. The people who wanted to be there were there. The people who didn't, weren't. And that tells me everything I need to know about where I belong in their lives and where they belong in mine. My daughter is 18 months old now. Her name is Margot, after Daniel's grandmother. She's never met my parents. She doesn't know she has another set of grandparents somewhere in Minnesota. Someday, I'll have to explain it to her. Explain why some people in families don't talk to each other. Explain why love doesn't always come from the people it should. But I'll also get to show her what real family looks like. The 11 people who became her village. Lisa, who flew in for the birth and stayed for 2 weeks. Maya, who brings casseroles every time Margot hits a new developmental stage. Daniel's parents, who clear their schedule whenever we need help. The family we built from the people who chose to be there. That's the inheritance I'm giving my daughter. Not the dysfunction I grew up with. Not the favoritism and the forgetting and the invoices. The knowledge that family is a verb, not a noun. It's showing up. It's choosing. It's being present for the moments that matter, even when it's inconvenient, even when there's a baby shower in Maui you could attend instead. If you've ever been forgotten by the people who should have remembered, this story is for you. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been told your milestones don't matter, if you've ever waited for people to show up and watch them choose something else, you are not alone. And you are not the problem. The problem is never the person who asks to be seen. The problem is the people who refuse to look. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had family miss something important? Did they ever acknowledge it? Or did you have to find peace without their apology? I read every story, and if you want more stories about people who stopped waiting to be chosen and started choosing themselves, subscribe. Sometimes the smallest wedding teaches you the biggest lesson about who really deserves a seat at your table. 11 people came to my wedding. It was enough. It was more than enough. It was everyone who mattered. And that's exactly how I wanted it to end.